Have you ever asked your kid mid meltdown to take a breath, but it's actually made things worse? Welcome to this week's episode. My name is Jane, and I want to make it very clear from the start that this is definitely not about saying that breathing is bad, because breathing is actually one of the most powerful tools we have for our nervous system. However, how and when we introduce breathing makes all the difference. So if you've said it like I have, and when I first started and being a breathwork facilitator, take a breath, take a big breath, just calm down. Know that you haven't done anything wrong at all. It's just that we were told to use breathing as a behavior response and a behavior stopper. If they breathe, they're going to calm down, which can be right, but this is actually not how children's nervous systems work, especially in the moment, because they need co-regulation. And co-regulation and regulation only works when the nervous system feels completely safe enough to receive them. I would just like to touch on what's happening biologically with your child when they're mid meltdown. So, their body is in something known as a fight or flight state when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, which is basically known as being in survival mode. There's a threat to their life that nowadays we might know it as a perceived threat, for example. We're not having a physical threat to the life. So their bodies, though, think that there's a threat going on. And their prefrontal cortex, which is where the logic is and where the thoughts are, that goes completely offline. So whatever you say, if anything, it might just overstimulate them, but they're not going to understand in that moment. When they're having their meltdown and they're in that fight or flight, one of the states with the breathing, it increases. It actually goes quite fast. So they're doing rapid breaths in and out because they're really worked up. And that is their body trying to protect them in that moment when they're doing this fast breathing. So you actually can't take a nervous system that is completely in survival mode and say to them, take a slow breath and get them to do it on command, because they just won't be able to. It's not the right time, it's not appropriate, and their body's not going to do it for you as well. So this is why telling someone in that moment, telling your child to take a breath, it actually can escalate things, because then it feels like control and it feels like you're putting pressure on them. They're in that instinctual survival mode and you're trying to control them and say, calm down, take a breath. And it can feel to them like they're doing this wrong. Their body's reacting in a way, but it's actually incorrect. So it can actually have the opposite effect for some kids, where it can increase the panic within them or their rage, their anger, whatever they might be experiencing. So this is especially true for children that are highly sensitive. That might actually escalate it for them, as well as kids that have sensory processing differences. Telling them to stop what they're doing and calm down and breathe could actually backfire. Kids with autonomy needs, they need to do it independently. They need to do it themselves. Again, they might see that as conflict in you trying to control them. And also kids that feel very overwhelmed, that again, it could potentially escalate it, because you're trying to use logic, and I know you're trying to come from a place of love and trying to help them, but in that moment it's not really the appropriate measure or format of what to be doing. So you are there really primarily to support them and offer your co-regulation. So you've self-regulated, you're able to offer that co-regulation. Otherwise, telling them to breathe and telling them to take a big breath just could be overwhelming, and it's just adding another demand, another element there onto them. So when your child is feeling these very high emotions, they actually don't need any instructions from you. What they need is your regulation, and they need it through relationship, being with you, co-regulating. So as we've touched on the 5 regulation languages previously, each child is different. They'll have one primary and one secondary. And what this might mean is while they emit meltdown, they are going to regulate through you being around them, so your proximity, you being in close contact with them, your tone, so if you are talking to them, the way in which you're talking, the level of your voice, the breath, which is really important. If you're breathing very quickly, you're actually activating your sympathetic nervous system. So it's so important to just for you to do those big, deep breaths, have yourself nice and calm, and they're going to pick up on that. And eventually they're going to start breathing nice and slowly and calmly too. You to not be rushing about too much. So to be quite still, the presence, you are close to them, but just being a very calm, still, whether you're sitting, whether you're standing, just in that nice, calm space within yourself. You're energetically just feeling calm and relaxed. Drop the shoulders and just feel that internal shift within yourself. So they are really great examples of things you can do in the midst of the meltdown. And for your child, whatever their regulation language is, this is where the methodology comes in. So if they need touch, you might be there offering to hold their hand or giving them a rub on their back or a cuddle or whatever they might need. If they need movement, you might be saying, okay, push up against the wall, run on the spot, do star jumps, let's get that energy out. It might be getting a cushion and hitting into the cushion or the pillow or the bed, something soft as hard as you can for movement and release. If they need your presence there, that's obviously going to be there too. As we've mentioned previously, the worst thing you can do is just leave the situation and walk away. So they need your presence, your proximity, you being there. That's essential for that whole duration until they're starting to calm down. And then afterwards to be able to go through and have a talk about it. For language, words and understanding, it's talking to them, not over talking or letting them talk as well, so they feel really validated as to. So you might be saying, I can understand you're upset and I can see how that really frustrated you, but also not overdoing it, really let them express themselves too. That's really important. And predictability and routine, that goes without saying that you're doing the same thing every single time. You're creating that routine for them so they know what you'll be doing and they know what's expected, and that's going to help them feel really safe and help them feel really regulated within themselves. So your calm body, you being regulated, you being calm within yourself, is going to be far more efficient than anything you say, anything you verbalize with your words. Your presence is what they're going to pick up on. And so really remember to be really congruent within yourself, feeling calm, feeling relaxed, the tone in which you're speaking, the way you've got your still, the way you're holding yourself, that stillness. You're not rushing about and, just try and calm down. You're just really contained, really centered, and really grounded within yourself. Okay, so you might be wondering, when do we actually teach our kids to breathe? And that's a really great question. And the answer is when they're calm, when they're relaxed. And it might be during playful moments that you're interacting together and playing. It might be just before bed, if they're feeling calm and very relaxed. It might be when you're having cuddles with them on the couch, or you're reading a book and you do some breathing. It might be going in the car and, okay, let's practice our breathing. So it's really when your child is feeling regulated within themselves, and then that's when we introduce the breathing to them. Now, some great ways and techniques is to keep it really simple. We're not going to add in breath holds at this age. We're not going to do really long extended exhales. We want to just really focus on the deep belly breathing. So that's drawing the breath, the oxygen, deep down into the diaphragm. And you might ask them to place their hands on their belly And as they breathe in, their belly's going to expand and get bigger, and it might feel like it's blowing up like a balloon. And then as they exhale, release that carbon dioxide, the belly just softly sinks back down. So you're just practicing some big breaths in and some slow breaths out. And that's really great to do without any pressure for them. No really correcting. They're going to understand, they're going to learn, and the more they practice it, the easier it's going to get for them. And really about them also watching you breathe. So you can mirror it back to them. You can show them, this is how mummy or daddy does it. This is how I breathe, and then show them the breathing. And just a little tip for yourselves, drop the shoulders and just allow yourself to be in that really nice calm space. And then you can play around with it. We do something called Santa breaths, which we do when it's not even Christmas, but it's about allowing our bellies to expand like Santa's big belly. And then on the exhale, we say ho, 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 ho. And then that just helps and calm them down. And I find this works all the time. Our 3-year-old absolutely loves it. He always actually wants to do Santa breaths. But there are many different techniques. If you would like me to give you some help with these or do another episode on kids' breathing techniques, drop it in the comments and I absolutely will. I've filmed plenty before for different kindergartens and schools, so very happy I've got lots there to be able to share with you. So if that is something you are interested in, just let me know in the comments. So just knowing that children will also learn from you, but it's so important to implement and teach them these breathing techniques when they're feeling really regulated and they're feeling calm within themselves. Okay, I'm just going to touch on briefly some of the long-term benefits of having your child doing breathing techniques. So it builds interoceptive awareness, which is that body awareness within themselves, as well as supporting emotional literacy, and it improves impulse control over time, as well as helping them recognize stress within themselves earlier, which again leads to the impulse control. And it also strengthens their nervous system flexibility. So there are actually studies done on children that have been breathing over and been exposed to breathing practices over time. And some of the key benefits there, which is great, is that it actually removes faster from stress. They remove themselves. So they have shorter meltdowns, which I'm sure every single parent wants to hear. And they develop these internal anchors because they're not externally seeking. They know that they can trust their bodies and they can return to their breath. And these are paramount as they go through their teenage years as well as into adulthood, especially for dealing with mental health and things that external scenarios that are outside of their control. So know that we're, as the parents, are not trying to calm our children down. We invite them to breathe. We don't demand it from them. We don't say, I want you to take that big breath. We invite them to breathe when they're comfortable and they're ready. And we're really teaching them about how to come back to within and come back to themselves and learn the tools of self-regulation themselves. So they are still going to need us for that co-regulation, but we're teaching them from a very young age about self-regulation so that they have these fundamental tools that they can carry with them throughout life. So just remember that regulation isn't taught just in one moment. It is learned. It takes patience. It takes practice. It takes repetition. And it takes a lot of just small, little, safe times of learning to breathe and then implementing them. So don't expect it to just happen overnight, but the benefits, as I mentioned earlier, are enormous for your child and for yourself as well. So please subscribe to my channel if you're finding this helpful. I'd be so appreciative, and I'll be covering more topics in the future episodes. And please drop a comment if there's anything that you would like me to touch on, including uploading videos or giving more techniques of breathing strategies for your child. Okay, thank you.